In today's video, I'm going to show you the 2 credit cards that we use to pay for all of our real estate marketing that also lets my wife and I travel for free whenever we want. Let's dive right in. So the number 1 credit card that I recommend you use to pay for your real estate marketing is the American Express Business Gold Rewards card. Now, if you're not super familiar with credit and how it works, particularly with business cards, you are personally guaranteeing any charges that you swipe. However, it doesn't report to your personal credit unless it's negative, if you go late, if you miss a payment or anything like that. So if you've got expenses on the card and you're qualifying for a mortgage or something, it doesn't affect your debt to income, which is a little bit of a perk. Now, the reason why I really like American Express's Business Gold Rewards cards is they give you a 4 times points value. So for every dollar you spend on particular categories, they give you 4 points or 4 miles, whatever you want to call them. Now, the thing I really like with this card is they automatically shift between different categories based off of the top 2 places that you spend the most money. So if you're watching this and you're a real estate investor, you're likely going to have things like postage or shipping. You could have travel, which is one of their categories. You could have radio ads or Facebook ads or pay-per-click. And it will kind of go through, there's 5 or 6 different categories that will throw up on screen that your rewards can kind of cycle through. So with us, we are killing it on shipping. I own Ballpoint Marketing, direct mail business. So literally every stamp we buy for every client, I get cash back rewards on that just go to our miles accounts. So normally at any given time, we've got between 1 to 2 million free miles, which is super, super nice. Basically means we can kind of go wherever we want, do whatever we want, and it doesn't actually cost us any money to get there or to stay there. Now, they're only going to give you that 4 times cash back up to the first $150,000 you spend. So if you spend more than 150 grand in those categories, it then drops down to just 1 point per dollar spent. So kind of loses that sex appeal that it started out with, which is why we have a second card that we use that we'll talk about now. The backup card that I recommend using is the Chase Business Inc. Preferred card. Now, the reason why I don't use this as a main card, they only give you 3 times cash back, so 3 points for every dollar you spend in specific categories, and they cap theirs at 100,000. So you can't quite get as much out of it, and you can't get quite as much rewards. On the American Express card, you can get up to 600,000 miles a year pretty easily. On the Chase one, you kind of start to cap at the 300,000 or so rate. So next I want to talk about rewards, how we redeem these points for maximum value, as well as things you should never redeem for just because it doesn't make sense. So the American Express card has a $295 annual fee, which really isn't terrible. Especially if you're maximizing the usage out of it and ending up with 600,000 points out of it. We pretty much exclusively use the American Express card to book flights. You can book through Delta, United, basically any of the big airlines. You can't do Southwest or Frontier, any of the budget ones. But pretty much any domestic flight, economy is going to cost me 30 to 50,000 miles. And first class is going to be 60 to 80. Any overseas flights are going to end up being anywhere from 80 to 100,000 miles for economy, maybe 150,000 or so for first class. So kind of makes it that we can fly in comfort without it actually costing us anything. As an investor, I don't think I could in good conscience pay $1,000 for a flight when I could fly with less legroom for 300. But if it's not physically costing me money, then I'm totally cool with it. One thing that you can do is you can transfer your American Express miles into other airlines or other partner programs. So anytime that I'm flying overseas, I'll actually look for a different airline to transfer my miles into. I often use Air France or Flying Blue, and that lets me get a lot further with my miles than I could through American Express. back like 2017-18 when flights to Hawaii were still really expensive, I was able to get first class flights from Indy to Hawaii for what was effectively like $300 by moving them into a third party. So kind of a little bit of a neat hack. So one thing you never want to do with your American Express miles is pay for existing charges or pay for like purchases on Amazon. If you're booking flights, basically 1 point is equal to like 1 cent. If you start trying to book hotels or pay for like existing charges or something at Amazon, they give you like 4/10 of 1 cent per point, and it just really starts to not make much sense. The Chase Business Ink card is a little bit cheaper on an annual basis. Their fee's only $95. But one thing they do that I really, really like is on travel, they give you a 25% bonus. So if you've got a point, it's worth roughly 1 cent in Chase's like rewards program. But if you're using it for flights or hotels, they give you like 1.25 cents per point. So typically I'm using American Express to pay for my flights, and then I'm using my Chase miles to book things like hotels, because with that 25% addition, it just goes a little bit further. One neat thing with Chase's rewards program, I don't know if it's TripAdvisor or Airbnb or VRBO or whatever, but you can actually book houses through their like hotels program. With American Express, it's just like, you know, the Ritz or Sheraton or a Holiday Inn or something like that. But we've actually used Chase before to book Airbnbs or houses. I don't know if they do it through VRBO or whatever, but that's kind of nice if you're traveling a little bit more long-term and you don't want to be in a hotel. Plus you're getting that 25% kicker, which honestly can make it pretty affordable. A lot of real estate investors, myself included, like to use American Express's Platinum card because, I mean, it sounds cool when you drop it. But in all seriousness, there's some neat perks with travel, particularly if you're paying for your hotels and stuff out of pocket. That's not really one that I recommend as far as like a real estate marketing credit card goes. It's also pretty expensive. Their annual fee, I think now is $550 a year. So a little bit harder to justify than like the $295 or, you know, $95 that you're going to pay at Chase. I don't feel like I can share the like, look at all these free trips we've taken, this is what it feels like to fly first class, without also kind of just giving you a little bit of a word of caution. Any successful entrepreneur that I know, myself included, has been in a position where they were struggling with or dealing with credit card debt. We ran into a problem about a year or two back with one of our companies where we accidentally ended up using an American Express card, almost like our business operating account. And because you're paying things off 30 days later, we kind of slipped into this pattern where we needed new sales to come in order to pay for the previous month's charges. And it really wasn't fun. So by all means, I'm a big fan of using credit cards to pay for charges that you're going to be paying for anyway, to like get the free benefits out of them. But I want to make sure you don't end up in that position we were in, where you're hoping a flip closes or a new deal comes in or something to pay for charges that you don't have another way to pay for. This is something that should be fun, should give you a little bit more freedom and flexibility with your travel. You don't want that thing that could be good to end up becoming a burden. So it's just something to really keep an eye on, especially if you're using the cards that you have to pay off every 30 days. This is one of those videos that like a lot of you guys have requested. I know there's a lot of different like card companies out there, and ultimately what you're looking for is what do you spend most of your money on and how can you get rewards back from that? Now, this is strictly the cards that we use for our real estate marketing. Obviously, we have accounts with like Lowe's and Home Depot for things like flips and rentals that we're doing. So this is strictly on the marketing side where you kind of want to look at where's your budget going, where can you get the most rewards from that, and kind of what benefit can you get from that. Just kind of quickly in closing, we don't do any of the games. We're not like charging ourselves charges on PayPal to pay off to make it look like we're running more money through the card to try to like hack rewards. It's called manufactured spending. It can actually get you banned from some of the providers. We're strictly using our cards to pay for things that our business is already paying for. with the goal being of extracting additional benefits out of those credit card companies. My name is Ryan Dossey. Hopefully you found this video helpful. Best of luck. Happy points hacking. Talk to you next time.